What's up, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. I have something special for you today. I was able to interview the creators of Eastbay. If you've been in the sneaker game long enough, you know exactly what that catalog means to the culture. It is steeped in history, and I was able to interview Art and Rick, and boy, what a great surprise that was for me. The reason that I was interviewing them was because of this, their new book, The Book of Eastbay. In it, they detail their entire journey, from all the famous people that they met, to all of the customers that they satisfied, to their entire journey up until now. This book goes on sale April 14th, and that is today if you are watching this at launch. All of the proceeds of this book go toward battling children's cancer, which is something that I can 100% get behind. So if you love Eastbay the way that most people do, take in this interview. Enjoy how much I enjoyed talking with Art and Rick. Pick up a copy of the book. Support their causes. Support the people that support me. This interview was a great opportunity, and I was so very happy to be able to be a part of it. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Enjoy. All right, everybody. So it's not too often that I have a guest on the pod. If you've been listening for the last 5 years or so, you've heard only my voice for pretty much the entirety of that. And when I do have a guest, it's always a special event. So today I'm extremely excited because I have the creators of Eastbay. So if you're a sneaker person who is in my age range, or basically any age range except for maybe some young people, you know what that means. You know what that catalog is. And I am so very happy to have Art and Rick, the creators of Eastbay, and by the way, the authors of this new book, The Book of Eastbay, which comes out April 14th, and all the proceeds go to charity. Art, Rick, I can't even begin to tell you how special this is, and I want to welcome you and thank you so much for giving your time.
Thanks, Matt.
You're so kind, Matt. Thank you.
Well, you said I'm kind. I mean, if you heard some of the things my wife says about me every so often, you know, maybe you think a little bit differently.
You're married.
But
You're kind, but you're married.
Is your wife either? Is your wife related to our wives?
Well, you know what's funny about that is my wife at first, when I got into sneakers, like I'm a sneaker person, but I'm a sports person too. So Eastbay kind of, you know, runs the gamut of all of those. And at first she hated it because, you know, a certain size package would show up on the porch every so often, and she'd be like, another. And then fast forward to now, and her collection looks just like mine. So she's just as into it as I am, and I converted her, guys.
Really?
I feel good.
It's surprising that how packaging has changed, because we went through a couple of years where UPS drivers would leave a package on a front door and somebody would steal it.
It still happens.
So we
yeah,
had,
but we didn't know at the time.
we had to move from a Nike box to an Eastbay box, which didn't make much difference, and then to plastic bags and a box with no name on it. But so we get what you're talking about.
You guys have been through so much. I mean, what, 50 years of just the Eastbay legacy, or around there, if you thinking about doing it, finally getting it done, to all the way up until the recent closure of it with Foot Locker. But you guys have been friends basically since birth. I mean, people say that, but you guys were born pretty much like right at the same time in the same town, were you not?
Yes, we were in the things are very quiet, and then Rick was placed in the bassinet next to me, and it's been kind of loud ever since then.
You guys are those kind of friends? Are you guys like you guys remember the old guys in the Muppets who were just like laughing at everybody and making fun of everybody? Is that you guys?
Thank you, the old guys. In the Muppets.
No, but you know what I mean. The characters are old guys, but they're more like the snarky old guys who just laugh and make fun of everybody, and they're having a great time. Is that you guys?
We don't know enough to make fun of people, I don't think, do we?
I think we make probably more fun of ourselves. So
that's always a healthy place to be. But you guys started, so let's first talk about the book. This is a book I think that a lot of people will be interested in, but I'm curious, and you both can go one at a time, is what was the process of writing this like? Because you're dredging through decades of memories, and it had to have been both enlightening and also kind of difficult to remember everything. So Rick, I'll start with you.
Well, I'm going to pass this to Art because he's got a great Beatles story that goes along with
okay.
what
Name
they
dropping
did
already. Fellas, I didn't
bring.
bring my dustpan with me. You guys are going to make me pick up the names off the floor?
One of the hardest things was getting our memories on the same page. But looking back, we were never on the same page. Complete opposites. Even in real time when it happened, we were looking at different things. So we were always like, no, I think it happened like this. I think it happened like this. And then I happened to read about the Beatles making Anthology in 1997. One guy saying it happened this way, and Ringo Starr says the other. George Harrison said they never played Shea Stadium a second time till they showed him on the video. So I mean, yeah, when things go back, you do things and you think you got it, but you each look at it completely different.
And that's really been Art and I. We never really disagreed on what we were doing or why we were doing things. It was always the how, and which really which builds a lot of trust in you. So right away, as soon as either one of us had an idea, the other one 50% was on board. Then it was just a matter of convincing it. Is it going to be his way or my way or some kind of combination?
It was never one way or the other. It was always a combination.
We always, and even our staff, we were so. We were what? Were we 35 million or something? We didn't have job descriptions. We didn't have an organization structure. We never had a budget. And so people knew at Eastbay that they could, if they heard something on the phone or they talked to somebody, that they could come and tell us that we should be doing this or we should be doing that, or this is a better way to do those kinds of things. And it really, I think, made a big difference in the culture because we were lucky enough to have great people.
Do you know how progressive that is, though? Because in 2026, in the corporate world and in other places, you don't hear a lot of that. You hear a lot of the organizational structure and, you know, the hierarchy, and there is value to that. But you two are making such a symbiotic place to work where people can feel free to say, I think we should do it this way. And I think that speaks to your sustained success. I mean, that's very progressive. That's impressive to me.
Well, in the book, maybe we shouldn't tell them what Polly said.
Well, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
One of the first high school people that we hired, she coined a phrase, doers of stuff. And so when somebody would ask her, what was your title? In fact, she even put it on her business card when she traveled to China to do some sourcing for us and wherever else she went. Her title was doer of stuff. And so that's kind of a thing that ramped around the organization for almost everybody.
You almost need a fixer. Like every business or every organization has somebody that they know can go get things done. It doesn't necessarily fit into a lane, but you know, oh, this person will go get this done, or this person knows who can get this done. So, I mean, doer of stuff, everybody needs that. But I have a question for you guys, because obviously the litany of memories that are in this book, I'm sure you had to leave things out, but as you're writing this...
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Go ahead.
Can we say one thing?
Yes.
We put the our prologue on our website, bookofeastbay.com. So if they're interested in thinking about the book, they can at least read the prologue to see if they want to continue and move on. Sorry.
No, fellas, let me tell you, I'm going to do everything that I can to sell as many copies of this book as possible, because I can tell you that just talking about this topic with people, I mean, some of it was virtual, some of it's in person. Actually, in the office today, I went to a couple people I knew who would love this, that their eyes lit up in talking about this. Can't wait to hear from you guys. And I mean, this is special. So you should be proud of what you have done. And I think you're going to, you may be surprised by how many people are still living off of the memories, the embers of the memories of Eastbay, because you touched many, many lives. I mean, did you guys realize that as it was happening? Because it had to have just happened so rapidly that all of a sudden it's done.
It was going fast for us. And I don't think we would get it here and there. You know, we'd travel and, you know, we'd meet athletes and they'd say, oh, you're from Eastbay, and they'd be excited about that. And, you know, and people like Roger Clemens had to call in for shoes and things like that from us. So we understood we were reaching people, and then we'd have young people call in and say, hey, can I have, I'm working at McDonald's, can I have them just take my money and give it to you guys so I can buy shoes? I mean, it was like,
stop, that's
really?
great.
So we sent her a pair of shoes, but you really never realized it. At least I didn't completely till Eastbay shut down. And then online was all sorts of former customers that were so thrilled that, you know, about Eastbay and had so many great memories about it, from LeBron James and Steph Curry and PJ Tucker to all the sportscasters and podcasters out there that wrote it. It was very touchy. And I says, you know, sometimes we forgot we did that.
I was going to say, it must be hard to stay present when all this is happening, but you probably heard from celebrities. And did you guys get fan mail? Did you guys get people calling, writing in, talking about how much Eastbay meant to them, and from just regular people like myself?
Yeah,
I don't remember any
No?
fan mail. At least my
No?
wife got it before me, that's for sure.
I mean,
All right.
early on, we would have coaches call and say, "I can't believe you have a white and green basketball shoe," because our local dealer said all you can get is white on white.
Oh,
So
yeah.
we'd have coaches tell us things and say, because part of our software allowed us to put notes whenever we wanted to, like if a coach was going to state, we'd say good luck or whatever. And so sometimes they write back and say, hey, we got our butts kicked or something, or hey, we won, whatever the case may be. But
Yeah.
it really kept us grounded, and it really kept us focused on not listening to too much of that, because we wanted to keep getting better.
Yeah.
And make sure that we were around for a long time.
If
you
we
get-
had fan mail,
Yeah.
don't remember it per se, but we really started with very little money, and back then there were no names. We made a list of probably 5 million high school kids, and starting from one, and I think every time I would track that, and every time there was someone else that wanted a catalog, I'd have to think that was our fan mail.
I agree. I mean, it was
That's
something
a nice
that everybody
touch.
looked forward to. I didn't say that.
You're a
That's
whole
good.
new person today. This is
That
great.
is good. See,
He's on today.
you guys are gonna get better. Every podcaster, every person you
Wow.
talk to about this, your
Yeah.
stories are just gonna flow. But
We're running out of lies, but you're starting to get back into it. This is
Come
super.
on. So at the beginning, you talked about not having a lot and talking about high schoolers. And so was that what it was really about at the time? I mean, it wasn't, obviously you were trying to create a business, but when you started, was it really just about making sure that local athletes could get shoes that they wanted, and it just sort of blossomed from there? And is that kind of what kept you going for all these years? Because it's tough to keep that original spark going for 40 years?
That was our mission set by Rick. He went to a track meet. He was a really good runner in Arkadelphia. It was a national track meet for NCAA threes, right?
NAIA at the
NAIA,
time.
okay.
Yep.
And he kept seeing all these fantastic shoes. And he says, how come we can't get those in northern Wisconsin, UWSP and stuff like that? And so that's, I think, where it came about. And so our mission was always to get young athletes and young people the best possible footwear they could for their sport or just for themselves. It's just the old idiom, if you got the right thing on, you're going to run faster and jump higher. We were both coaches in high school coaches. So, like the last year I coached, we'd give away shoes yet. And so if someone needed a pair of shoes for track, we'd give them Converse All-Stars and things like that. So
Oh man, it's one of my favorites.
you realize that, there was really nothing out there.
Well, and
That was our
plus,
dream.
and plus the schools had stopped giving shoes to the kids, so the kids had to go out and find it. And at that time, it was that was the first early years of Nike and everything else, where there was shoes being made that were new to the market. The running boom had really hit hard.
Yes.
So there was all kinds of selection out there. But the kids were left on their own to figure out what works best for me. How do I know if it fits? If I got bad ankles or if I got shin splints, what do I need? My knees are killing me. How can I get some help? And the coaches tried to do that, but it was such new technology, new ideas coming that they couldn't keep up. And so we were just kind of in the right place at the right time and focusing on allowing the kids to see whatever's available, giving them the information so they can make decisions on what they like the best.
Was there a time, because I'm thinking about the timeline of, you talk about sports and the advent of Nike, and then a certain someone named Michael Jordan comes around and it changed.
What was the name?
Yeah, Michael Jordan.
Oh,
He still hasn't left.
I know. But he comes around and it changes everything. And I don't think you guys knew that would happen at the time, but was there sort of an inflection point where you realized, oh, this isn't just about getting kids basketball shoes. This is becoming something much larger, because it really took off not that long after the Air Jordan 1 came out.
So when we started out, we originally went to basically the whole state of Wisconsin in vans. So, basketball and track and that. And then we started, the coaches would go, maybe you could send some pictures with this. So also let's start doing that a little bit. So kind of a black and white catalog came out, not a big catalog, just.
Yeah.
And we went to color one year because we could afford that. I remember we started with $4,000, and And the year we went to color pictures, oh, here it is. This happened. This is our first color
I love
rendering. So these are all the Dunks. These are all the Jordans, everything. Yes. You might know some Jordans are $49.95 there.
Oh, I did an entire episode breaking down inflation and how much shoe, because people complain about how much shoes cost now, and talking about what costs were back then and what they mean today. And it's not that much more expensive today if you bring it up to today's dollars. But anyway, yes, I do know exactly the price.
We were doing mostly teams, so we did all team pricing.
Yeah.
But so we've done our first color catalog, and Nike comes out with those. It was really a Wizard of Oz moment. And then the Jordans hit at the same time. And whenever Rick and I really liked the same product, we really went all in. But the Jordan was the one. And when it first came out, there were a lot of people thinking this thing's ugly. It's not going to sell. But we liked it.
It was 50-50.
All the athletes we talked to liked it. So you have to order 6 months ahead of time. It is the only product I remember that when we bought it, we bought everything we could possibly get, and if we didn't sell it, we were toast. We were gone. So actually worked pretty well for us.
Well, and the other thing that was unique about the Jordan, excuse me, and I think it's still to this day, I don't, maybe you remember something, but there was never a shoe that created that much conversation between kids. You
no doubt.
Hated it or you loved it. You either wanted to play in it or you wanted to throw it away or not even come close to it. And I don't think there's ever been a shoe that really took the kids. They just, it was, even if they didn't buy Air Jordan and they were an Adidas fan or whatever, they still talked about the Air Jordan. So you could really start to see the kids' power of a consumer coming forward, because they spent so much time talking about the Air Jordan that the brands had to start listening to say, these kids do talk to each other and they do exchange information, and we've got to make sure that we can satisfy what they're looking for.
And that was back then.
About all the colors.
Yeah.
If I can add one thing.
Yeah.
It was the first time and I talked about the Wizard of Oz moment, not just for the Nikes of the world and that making color shoes, not for us as a fledgling catalog, but really for athletes when they got it. Before that, I think the athletic footwear was pretty much for equipment. Mm-hmm. And after that, a lot of it started to be identity, which carries over to today.
Yep.
Yeah, and I was going to ask, like, there's a couple things here. Did you have a moment where you realized, like, you create the catalog, first time in color, you're probably feeling good about yourselves, like, okay, right? And do you ever have this moment where you're like, this is way bigger than I think we ever thought that this would be, and you're sort of on this rise because, as you said, sneakers are becoming more than just footwear, they're becoming style, identity. And did you guys have to pivot a little bit, and do you remember any of that?
Maybe you have a different opinion, but
of course I do.
I'm hoping you do.
Go ahead.
I truly don't think we thought of that.
Okay.
We really were focused on getting the best shoes to as many people as we possibly could and figuring out a way to work through the lack of technology back in the 80s. I mean, it took us a long time just to do one catalog. And by 1992, we were when we brought in digital photography and the Apple system.
Oh yeah.
That allowed us to make our own catalog in-house. That was one of the biggest night and day difference makers of the whole thing, because at the end, we were making an Eastbay catalog a month. We had 3 Final Score, which was our sale catalog. We had started, because we knew that our customers were getting older, we started a catalog company called Rothschild's Village, which sold high-end dress shoes.
Okay.
And we did a skateboard catalog.
Ooh.
We did a bad guy. What was the clothing?
No. We didn't do a catalog on that.
Did we? I thought we did
maybe a closeout catalog.
But anyway, by going digital and doing the catalog in-house, it really allowed us to make all these catalogs. We were probably making 3-4 catalogs per month to send out, and that's a lot. Our graphics department was truly amazing. Maybe getting too far off in the side story, but
what was the story?
Nope.
Okay.
Yeah, good point.
There is no too far. Tell the
When,
all the
when
stories
we
you want.
when we tried to get Nike back, one of the things that Phil Knight told us was that it took them 6 months to make one catalog. It took us less than a month to make a catalog because we did it in house, and that's one of the things when we made the Nike feature book for them. One of the things that I think that he wanted to get involved with us was that we had the technology to make catalogs fast and do them really well.
I mean, you guys obviously did it. 3 catalogs a month back in the 90s is a lot. But you talked about Phil Knight.
We're all working on. We produced one catalog a month for Eastbay.
For Eastbay, but you had others that you were working on at the time, right? Yeah.
And the other thing that these guys did, both our buyers and our creative staff, back then most catalogers would send you a catalog in June, then they might send you a catalog in July, and all it was is the back half of the catalog got pushed to the front, and the front got pushed to the back. We created total brand new catalogs every month, and we made sure there was new product that hadn't been seen before every month in the catalog. So the buyers had to work their butts off to find new stuff and sell out of the old stuff, so we didn't have to carry it all over and send it over to Final Score. But our graphics people were they were humming. It was so fun to watch them.
I mean, I assume probably at the time it didn't feel as fun because when you're in it and sometimes
they had a great time.
Did they? Oh, good.
Every day was Christmas.
It was balls to the wall, and when we sold, we struggled to even like anything because there was nothing of the excitement of pro sports, the athletic industry, and the growth and the fast releases of shoes and everything else. It was balls to the wall every day, and it wouldn't have traded it for anything.
So we both did both jobs, but Rick was more into the making the catalogs, which is amazing because we put out 12 catalogs a year, more than 100 pages at the end, up to 144. Our book's only 300 and some.
Yeah,
we did them every month. Where was that? What were we talking about? Sorry, I got off on your thing.
Different roles.
How much smarter you were than I was.
So I was in charge of the buying.
Yeah,
but Rick would, he'd be in the buying too. But it was like I talk about Christmas. Boy, when those reps came in with the new shoes, and you're looking at every new one, that was fun stuff, And you'd have all our buyers like Tommy Gering, Rick's brother, and a bunch of other. There's so many other guys. Yep. And boy, they would just pour over that and just you'd picking out. You would just make lists. Okay, what's going to be number one? What's two? And just going down the line. That was the fun part.
Did brands? Because I remember I worked at Sports Authority, which right. It isn't a thing anymore. But when I worked there in high school and college, the brands sometimes would come in and show us what they were going to be sending the company, and that was always fun because you got to see, whoa, this is new. So I only got to see that a few times. But did the brands really roll out the red carpet type deal, or was it just sort of business as usual? Like, this is what we're coming out with, so you guys could continue to make the catalog and make decisions. Like, was there some fun elements to that, or was it more business?
Do you want to tell them the real story, or should we just
go ahead?
Yes, please. I need it.
We were the black sheep of the family. The brands loved us because of the selection we showed.
Right.
But they hated us because we crossed retail store lines.
We were mail order.
They didn't like the mail order because they didn't understand it yet. They didn't quite understand building a database and talking directly to your customers on a regular basis. So they loved that we carried and showed everything, but they really struggled because a lot of the retailers complained because, like I told you, the coach called us and said his local guy said, "Oh, they don't make a white and green shoe." Well, we told them you can have it in 3 days if you want it. So it was kind of the back and forth.
That's fascinating because Nike in the last few years tried to go what they call direct to consumer, which is exactly what you guys were doing with the catalog and the database and talking to customers. Isn't it funny how talking directly to customers, finding out exactly what they want is somehow or was somehow seen as taboo back then when you guys were tapping into exactly what they wanted. So you're able to do your job, which is to get the best shoes to the people that you could get access to. And honestly, I think that's cool. I think being the black sheep sometimes, as I'm wearing all black, is kind of is kind of cool. Like when you I don't want to say buck a trend, but you are sort of blazing a different trail. And you are, again, progressive here. Look at today, the internet. There is not much like brick and mortar outward facing retail stores the same way that there was. And did you now?
How long did you work at Sports Authority?
Oh gosh, let's see. I was a junior in high school, and then I think I worked a few summers in college. So probably like 4 or 5 summers. I loved it. For my like retail or my non-professional jobs, I worked in the footwear department. That was the ironic part. I didn't get into sneakers the way that people see it now until I was in my 30s because I didn't have any money. So a funny story for you guys. For the longest time, my mom hated the Eastbay catalog because I would circle all the stuff I wanted and she would have to say no every month. Like that was a tradition. And so she'd, but she would never throw it away because she knew I got joy of looking at it. But the first shoe I ever wanted, I saw in the Eastbay catalog, and it was the Reebok Pump. And I was like, I had to have it. It took 4 years, guys, 4 years, but I finally got a pair, finally got one. And I remember being like, this is the best day of my life. And I don't know what it would have been like had I been able to get stuff from the catalog, but I think just the access and being able to see it, that meant something to me, and I know it meant something to a lot of people. So you guys must have got a lot of joy knowing that, man, this work that we're doing, the creative department and the graphics department, it's really making people happy.
What town did you grow up in? Let's see.
I was born in Bristol, Rhode Island, so I'm a New Englander at heart, and I moved here. I live in just outside of Washington, D.C. in Northern Virginia. I went to Virginia Tech for undergrad, and so I ended up moving back here. But being in New England, Sports Authority was kind of a big thing. This is before Dix had moved in. And it was fun just because that was where I think I learned to like see the stuff on the shelves. Like I remember the first Kobe, the Adidas one. It was like the big bulky one before he went to Nike. And I wanted that so bad. And we could have gotten a 20% discount. I just never did it. It was one of those that I never did it, but seeing it, being able to have access to it made it kind of coveted. So I love the stories of working in footwear because it was a fun time.
We probably hired most high school kids in our town, Wausau, Wisconsin. And they just, they said, I just remember buying all the shoes every time. So, never made any money, just bought shoes.
That's why they came into work. They wanted shoes.
I mean, to be fair, that is probably more responsible out of teenagers than you can actually expect nowadays to go to work and then spend your money on stuff. At least they're not spending money they don't have. Yes, they're not
starter jackets.
Oh man, I had those too. I had one of those. See, my parents I didn't grow up poor. I grew up sort of unknowing of what my parents' financial situation was. Like they did what I always say that my parents did a great job of shielding me if they were having issues. And I try to do that with my son as well. But luckily for me, or fortunately, I'm in a better position than my parents were. So having those tough conversations about money sometimes needs to happen. But my parents would put sort of a line on things I could have and things that I couldn't have. And sneakers and hats and jackets and stuff was kind of in the nice to have category, not in the want to have.
Smart.
And at the time, I hated it because you're a teenager, you just want to be cool. But I look back on it and they spent money on vacations and family vacations and things like that. And I think those were a better use of their money, and you don't realize it at the time. So to be fair, those teenagers are a little bit more forward thinking than I was. But when I started working, that was a different story. And now as an adult, it's nice to be able to provide for yourself if you want something. And I do that quite often, as a matter of fact.
The Reebok Pump plays a big part in our history. So
I love that shoe still. I could never wear it now, but it was.
That's what you should buy. You should buy one of those.
Look, guys. Okay, actually the amount of shoes I have is less than almost everybody that I know, but I try to like toe a line. I told you I'm married offline, and sometimes there are
offline. Oh, okay.
No. Sometimes there are shoes that I'll buy, and my wife will look at me, and I'll be like, "Ooh, I don't know how many more of she doesn't really like these that I can buy, so I've got to really play my cards very close to the vest." But I will one day get one because they do come out with them. But you said that shoe played in your history. How did it play into your history?
So in 1987, so we were really, I mean, we were growing 75%, 100% a year. You know, when you start with very little money, cash flow is a problem. But so in 1987, we're growing so fast, we have to put in the catalog. Don't call for a catalog. So these are genius marketing people at work. He made the catalog, don't forget.
We were gonna write the book about
throw blame his way.
geniuses.
Good.
But then in '88, and we talked about it, Nike, they decided they weren't sure what mail order was, and we weren't the only mail order catalog, and it was so new that they took Air products away from catalog from mail order, which at the time was 40% of our business.
Wow, that's a hit.
And so we had to reinvent ourselves again. So I mean, when we went to before the Jordan and that, we were Eastbay running store.
Mm-hmm.
And then after the Jordan and that, we were kind of even with everything we did. So we became just Eastbay. After losing all the Nike stuff, we went out and said, okay, by the way, did anyone ever quit when we lost Nike? It took about 8 months we went through the court process.
Well, we locked the door so they couldn't leave.
They couldn't leave. So we went through that process, we lost it, and then we came back and we said, hey, how are we going to replace this? We're not going to do it by buying Air Jordans because there's not another Air Jordan out there of that.
Yeah.
So then we kind of reinvented ourselves as the sports source. Really went in more into the starter jackets. We had that before, but we really went big into that, and all the licensed apparel, carried every NBA and NCAA basketball jersey you could find.
Equipment.
Started all the equipment, went from a few baseball gloves. I think we went from 6 baseball gloves to the 10 infielders gloves, just like things like that. So we actually made up what we lost in that year and then kept growing from there. And then a few years later, luckily we patched it up with Nike. So that was good.
That must have been a scary time though, when they take away almost half
You were
of
telling
your...
him about the pump.
Oh, I was telling you about the pump.
I know.
Oh, darn it.
It's
still a good story.
It's easy. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
No, it's a great story.
You go ahead. We'll get back to the pump later. How that?
Oh no, I'm genuinely
You can read
curious.
the book and find out about the pump.
I will read the book and find out, and I think everybody else should read the book and find out as well.
Shaquille O'Neal was a big deal with the pump shoe for us, and
yes,
he was instrumental in getting us
inadvertently
getting us back with Nike. So,
did you guys ever have somebody like him call, or you were told like, hey, so and so is calling, and you're like, who? Like they're calling us? Did you ever have a moment like that?
Roger Clemens needed a size 13 brown right hand pitching toe shoe for the All-Star game. We were the only ones to have it, so they had to call us.
That's awesome. No, not him, but his representative.
His representative.
Yeah.
And then Gwen Torrance, her rep called. She was running in the Olympics in Barcelona, and we were the only ones that had her size 5.5 track shoe, I think it was.
She got them stolen after the trials.
So we had to get them to Barcelona for her. So
I mean,
we had one of our staff hopped on an airplane with the box of shoes, took it out to Puma's headquarters, Mizuno's headquarters.
Yeah.
And then they had somebody waiting there to get the shoe
And we met him in Atlanta,
that's right. And handed them the shoe, so they got on the plane to get her so that she could wear them the next morning in the finals.
That is great. Do you guys have any more stories like that? Because that's stuff that people today couldn't even understand, because you can literally go on a phone, buy a pair of shoes. It's at your house in 2 days. You guys had to hop on 4 planes just to get an Olympic athlete their shoes.
Yeah. And David Letterman would go, on his show, he would say, if you guys need big shoes, call these guys. So that was nice of him.
Yeah, I would say so. That's quite a plug.
Got to play catch with Tony Gwynn at 5 a.m. at spring training.
Oh my God, Tony Gwynn's one of my favorite baseball players.
We didn't get to do it, but our team sales guys did. Yeah. So we
didn't get up that early.
We grew up in a small town where we really didn't both financially and geographically have access to any professional athletes or anything. So when we were lucky enough to get to the point where we were being invited places, we were being asked to come out to Nike or whatever, we were so happy that we could give that up to our staff so that they could have some of that, because we knew what it was like not to be able to do that. And we got a little taste of that. I mean, we got to meet Shaq, and we got to meet Harold Baines and Bobby Orr and a bunch of people. But after a while, we said it was time to make sure that our staff, who probably had never met anyone, get a chance to go do that too. So some of the stories that we could tell are stuff our staff did, not necessarily.
That's even better, though. I wish I'd worked at Eastbay. I should have moved to Wisconsin.
Our staff represented us.
You would have taken it over. You're way smarter than we are.
No.
Our mission.
How can you say that? You guys have... Look, I know that Eastbay eventually sunset, and everybody was sad. I assume you guys were devastated about that. And the trajectory of how you guys got there, you touched so many lives. I mean, and people who worked for you, people who saw the catalog, and self-deprecating humor is my thing too. But I hope you guys realize just how much of an impact you had. And from what I'm hearing, the mission of getting athletes their shoes, it feels like it's still something that you wish you could do today. Like, that's how pure the vision was, and that's unusual.
It was pretty simple.
Well, and it's a little lucky. Right now, it's hard to shop for shoes. I mean, the brands have you over a barrel. They know the algorithms. They know what you bought last time. They know what you've been looking online.
Yes. And
so they narrow you in. They only show you so much to try to lure you back in. And that's one of the reasons that we wrote the book, is that we think that we're on the cusp of something really big in the athletic industry again. Nike's finally found its mojo. Catalogs are coming back.
Yes.
AI with some of these amazing creators. What's the shoe company that prints custom-made shoes?
I know what you're talking about.
With Ben Weiss. And there's just so many good things that are starting to come together again, like it did in the mid 80s, just before the Jordan launch, that this could be a really good time for somebody to pick up the gauntlet and run with it.
Now, it's funny you said about algorithms, and social media is something that I'm not a huge fan of, just because I feel like it does sometimes more harm than good. But it's funny you mentioned algorithms and how you're curated what they think that you want to see, but you talk about how hard it is to buy shoes. I probably get asked more by people who I know, hey, how do I find out where to buy X or Y shoe, which is basically some of the questions that you guys got, which, hey, can you get me this? I need this. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how in such a connected world, that's still something that people struggle with. And as you guys were getting toward the end, because social media came around, the late 2000s, it started to kind of boom. Were you guys looking at it and thinking, I don't know if we can adapt to this? Was it somewhat difficult to adapt to that, or did you just sort of go with the flow like you always did?
So Rick and I had actually sold to Foot Locker. So we were gone by the 2000s.
You were gone by then? Okay, because I know that you had sold, was it somewhere in the 90s, I think? You guys went public in the 90s or 95, yeah. But you guys were out of there by that point. I wasn't sure if you guys were still, like I said, I have the book, but I'm not a fast reader, so you'll have to excuse me. I will get it done at some point.
Well, next one we'll put more pictures.
What do you read to your son at night before he goes to bed?
Yeah, Look, this is it.
Yeah.
This is put him to sleep.
Well, I've had the book for a few days, and if I did this full time, then I would have plenty of time to read. But I'm trying to piece together, like I do this after I put him to bed. So I guess I could read him the Book of Eastbay, which is pretty awesome. Go ahead.
Go ahead, Rick.
One of the biggest things though that happened that was hard for us is that everybody went direct. Mm-hmm. Back in the early 90s, I think New Balance even started their own store. Nike Town sprung up. And now obviously everybody has their own website and can handle business. It's just a matter of how you drive that business and how much power you give to the consumers by not forcing them to look only at a single brand when they're looking at things, but to look at a whole page and turn the page and see all 75 models of basketball shoes that you can choose from and let them pick what they want versus, Nike shows you their best ones, and then you got to scroll down 3 screens to get to their second level. and not just Nike, but any of the brands.
Everybody.
You can only put so many shoes on a screen.
And we did keep up on Eastbay because one of our best friends who's down here was Dick Johnson, who was our vice president of merchandising, later was the CEO and president of Foot Locker. And he had to shut it down. And I always say that it's his fault we wrote the book because of that. But so he would let us, we were, he couldn't tell us anything, but we knew, we knew that the internet and all that was what we're eating into him. It was just a matter of time. But our original idea when we sold to Foot Locker was that Eastbay would keep going, we'd be insulated. So footlocker.com in Wausau is still there.
Yeah.
We're pretty happy with that.
And if you search for Eastbay now, the first Google link is, it still wants to bring you to a website that sort of keeps the memory of it alive. Because I searched it to think, I wonder if they even have a website. This was before I knew about any of this and the book and everything like that. But you guys are entrepreneurs, and nowadays everybody wants to be one. Like, I know you guys think that I am one, and I guess in some way that I am doing this off to the side. But if you think about your journey through Eastbay all the way up until you guys were out of it, is there anything that you would do differently?
Wow.
No, we've
excellent. We've
had a great life. I can't think of anything else that could have turned out better. And we did it, together, side by side, and we had like we said, the great teams, the Rick's brothers, and that we were luckily as entrepreneurs. Two things, I think: make sure you have a good support group. Unless you're, there's entrepreneurs that love business, and they might have 7 different businesses, and they're really good at it, and they're opening up, and they got they got money, and they're looking for venture capital. If you're entrepreneurs like us, the accidental guys, make sure you have a good support group, because we didn't make any money for 3 years, and then we came upon that. So that would be the one thing I'd probably tell people. I have to also say, Rick said we wrote the book because of a new something coming in the sneaker world, and that's good. But I have a son named James too, and the reason we really wrote the book is our kids bugged us for years to get these stories down, and so we finally did. So
that is awesome. So just that whole, what you just said about getting your memories down, and I talked to you guys, I think, before we started here about how my son was born and everything, and one epiphany that I had a few years back was that my mom passed away in 2021, and I was handed essentially like picture books. You remember the old photo albums, right? My mom took so many photos, and I realized we live in this digital age where what am I going to hand him when he's older? What am I going to give to him? And so in 2023, I took up photography, and I've been basically photo journaling his entire life through my prism. And the memories matter. And when you talk about writing these memories down, I have them all. We print photos every year so that if in the untimely, having my untimely death that I can't prevent, then he'll know what I saw, and he'll see his life through the way that I was. So
that's really great. I always wish we would have done that.
And what a great perspective.
Yeah. Perspective is huge. And you guys are getting it through this book. I assume that, like you said, the memories and sometimes not remembering things exactly the same, but all at the end here, you guys have come together and realized you wouldn't change anything. And I think that there is power in that, and the bond that you two have. I mean, we joke about being married, but like, you guys have stayed together. I'm sure there were times when it felt like it was going to fall apart, but you're still here, sitting here, talking about the memories. And it's not about the success, but it's about the monetary success. I mean, obviously there was some, but you guys had the success of continually doing that journey and doing exactly what you wanted to do. And I love that. And especially getting this down here for your kids, there's nothing better.
Well, thank you.
Can I add one last thing? Because you talked about Rhode Island you were from.
Yes.
I've only been there once. We were there once. We drove during a snowstorm from Boston, Rhode Island to New Haven to see Starter.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a big snowstorm. Couldn't get a hotel room anywhere. It's the last time I shared a bed with a guy.
Hey.
We even got... It ain't happened that anymore.
We even got out on Elm Street to do something.
Yeah.
What horror picture has Elm Street? I can't even remember the movie now. Oh well, never mind.
Nightmare on Elm
We
Street.
thought it was
Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah.
Yeah,
we
maybe
thought it was a
that's it.
big deal that we got to go out and do what we did.
Sorry to
on
bore
Elm
you with
Street.
that one.
No, it is not boring. I have not lived in New England for many years, but
Okay.
I have family that still lives there. We visit there every year in Connecticut, and I get to take my son there, and that's the connection that I have to my mom. I told you she passed away from cancer. And speaking of cancer, one of the charities that you all are giving the proceeds of this book to is for childhood cancer. And I don't know if there's a connection that you two have with that, and if you want to talk about it, because I think it's an important element of why this book is being sold.
Well, yeah, the childhood cancer, the one that's listed there as the Little Warriors,
Yes.
really was started by my nephew because his daughter 5-6 years ago got Ewing sarcoma.
Playing soccer.
Playing soccer, legs break, and it's pretty much not a good prognosis. And
Yeah.
then learning about it, and you realize that in childhood cancer, they're not really developing much because there's not enough money being made because there's not enough of them. Like old guys, like I don't know, some guys over here, we get a lot of those cancers, so they make a lot of money off of us. So yeah, we thought that was one of the things we really wanted to get behind if we could. So
No, I
hopefully
love
if you buy a
that.
book, the money goes there.
She'll never play a sport again, and thankfully her legs have healed, but she can't put a lot of stress on them, and so her whole life at a young age has changed. And some of the other stories that you hear from the kids who have the same disease, it's just a lot of them think they're doing fine and they're normal kids, and then they play sports and it's too much stress and the bones break. And so the sports and the cancer together is kind of a catch-all for us. And
When you have a child, you know.
Yes, you do. And childhood cancer is the one thing in this world that always gets me. Like when I look at these kids and I see what they're going through, I always wonder how, why, they're kids. Like being a kid is a time in your life. I always say this about my son. He's living his best life. He has no idea. And I had no idea when I was a kid. And I don't think anybody does, because you just sort of live and you go through your life. And that's the way it's supposed to be as a kid. Getting cancer sort of inserts seriousness in adulthood in a way that is so unfair.
Yeah.
And that's what kills me about it. So that was one of the other appealing parts of talking to you guys, is that cause, because I thankfully haven't had to deal with it, knock on wood, but so many people have, and it's devastating, and I can't even imagine. So I love that.
No, can't imagine.
No.
Want to hear my pump story? You got time yet?
Yeah, you guys have the floor for as long as you want.
So I got the pump store. I'll finish that up.
Absolutely.
When we wanted to get Nike back, it's 5 years later, and
Yes.
I think one of the reasons we got them back,
we'll get Nike Air back. So
Nike Air back. One of the reasons we got them back is the person we eventually hired to be was really working at Eastbay. Harry Colcord, he'll be in the book. Always said he thought Phil Knight liked this because we started the same way as he did, selling the track teams out of the back end of a car.
Mm-hmm.
But anyhow, when we wanted to get Nike Air back, Shaq, who we had heard, Shaq wore, I think, some Eastbay stuff or something that we sold in the catalog, and not Nike to the Nike
and one,
and then he went to Reebok with the same stuff, and of course Reebok signed him. So when we were really putting the press on Nike Air to get back, we sent a box of these catalogs, which we called our Where's Waldo catalog.
So it looks like
A box of them to every building address in the Nike town, Beaverton. And the inside of the page, if you go across the page, is an outline of the bottom of a Shaq shoe.
Yep.
The Shaq Attack pump. And it wasn't long after that before a really great guy from Nike, Mark Duggan, gave us a call, and got kind of the things rolling after that. And I don't know if it was the catalogs, but I always had a soft spot for the Shaq Attack and the pump shoe.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great story, because again, it's the power of visuals and the power of being able to see something that you want and seeing the influence. I mean, yes, you guys didn't put Shaq shoes in there to get Nike back, but obviously you're making an impact again. So I think
Well,
that's a good
And
story.
they kind of said, like, well, how come our shoe's not on the front page? Well, if we had some really good shoes,
Yeah.
that make this happen.
Leverage.
And
That's what
they
it
were
was.
just, we always, Nike was going to Beaverton and going to the campus was always, I don't know if you've ever been there. It's an amazing place.
I have not yet. I've been to the Pacific Northwest once, and I've been to Oregon, but not to Beaverton yet. And my wife always says it'll be a pilgrimage that she will not accompany me on, but maybe one day. She probably will. I'll probably take my son. That'd probably be something that he.
I would bet you. I know a couple people that work there. My son's roommate, James' roommate, and boy, they're all sneakerheads.
Yeah.
They're really.
Yeah. I kind of was for a while, but now it's something that I enjoy. I really like the history, which is why this conversation is wonderful, because I just like that stuff. I always think it's important to understand where you are now. You have to look back and figure out how you got to where you are. And there's inflection points and things that happen. And it's always good to understand. Like, I talk with young people. I say young people as if it's a bad thing, but they're younger than me. They're like half my age. And they didn't live when Michael Jordan played basketball. They don't even know what that was all about. They know he's a shoe person. And that's why I think it's important to curate the history and talk about it. So I love the idea of this book. I want to remind everybody, April 14th, all the proceeds go toward charity. If you are an Eastbay fan, this is going to be a must read for you. I will probably read it twice just because that's how many times I need to read books to retain information. But Art, Rick, this has been a wonderful conversation. I can't even begin to tell you what a privilege it was just to talk to you. I could listen to you guys talk for days.
Well, invite us back. We'd be happy to come back because you're fun to talk to.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that. And honestly,
appreciate your perspective.
Honestly, you guys can chat it up with me anytime you want. And just because I think that, again, your stories and just talking about life sometimes is the way to go. You want to have conversations with people that sort of think on your same wavelength. And hey, we got the James thing in common. So maybe the next time I'll bring him on here and you can see that he's my mini-me. Looks exactly like me.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
But because you have a son and kids. And I think most of the people that bought things from Eastbay back in the day have kids now too, and they can't wait to share this with them.
Yeah.
I do remember, it's in the book, that we had dinner with Harold Baines and his wife towards the end, and I just remember asking Harold, like, man, what a thrill it must be to go out and play baseball and at the level you're playing all the time. He says, but you really miss your wife and kids. You're away all the time. So no matter.
It is very true. And I will dismount on this. The reason that I started doing any of this in the first place is because I wanted my son to look at me and realize I can do whatever I want. I don't need to be put in this box of, well, this is what I'm supposed to do. And that's what I hope that he sees from this. And whenever he's old enough to listen to this conversation or any other conversation that I have on this platform, I hope he realizes that his life is an oyster. He can do whatever he wants. And you know what, guys, much like we should do with our kids, I will support him 100% of the time. So let's do this again sometime.
Be wonderful.
And I wish you guys luck on the tour, the book tour that you guys are going to be doing through whoever you're going to speak with. And
not too much.
Well, yes, you should, because again, this is a good story. So I hope everybody enjoyed this conversation. I enjoyed it, and I can't wait to talk to you guys next time. So
perfect, Matt. Thank you much.
Matt, thank you so much. Enjoy. Say hi to James for us.
I will, and you say hi to James for me too. We will have a James on.
I will.
Thanks, guys.
Night. Have a great night.
You too.
Thank you.
And there you have it, folks. What a great talk with Art and Rick about Eastbay. I hope to be able to talk to them again in the future. They seem pretty interested. I'd love to know how this little tour they went on was and just hear more stories. They were such great storytellers. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Don't forget, if you want to support me, at Matt Freitz Creates on Instagram. Obviously, if you're on YouTube, if you haven't yet, please subscribe and think about sticking around. And just in general, I appreciate every single person who supports this content. I hope this finds you well, fam, and I hope this finds you safe. And I'll see you in the next one.